Kartik Hebbar was initiated into classical music by his mother, Srimati Vidya Hebbar. He then blossomed into a refined musician under the tutelage and guidance of the acclaimed and sought-after musician, Gana Kalabhushana Vidwan Guru R.K. Padmanabha. Apart from the tutelage under that renowned guru, he has also achieved insights into music through various other means. Kartik completed his graduation in classical music from Bangalore University. He has also attended many music training workshops and has had the opportunity to interact and learn personally from the likes of Sangeeta Kalanidhi R.K. Srikantan and other stalwarts of classical music. Kartik also trained under the renowned musician Sangeeta Kalacharya P.S. Narayana Swamy during his stay in Chennai for a brief period. As a performer, he has widely travelled and performs regularly. Kartik has performed at most of the prestigious sabhas in India and continues to travel the length and breadth of the country. Kartik has received many awards and accolades for his performances and has also won many music competitions at both state and national level. He has written and published widely on Carnatic music, including columns on classical music in The Hindu and other prestigious websites. He has also trained many aspiring musicians through workshops and teaching sessions and has regularly involved in training young aspiring talents of classical music. Kartik has given many lecture demonstrations in scholarly music conferences and has received immense appreciation for his lectures. He is also trained in Bharatanatyam for over 18 years and he is thus busy with music collaborations with dancers from all over the world. Kartik has acted and written for many television productions and is actively involved in theatre. We are very happy and honoured to present an insight into Dasa Sahitya by Shri Kartik Hebbar for Sammilan. Join me in welcoming him.
Tamburi meetidava ಭವಾಬ್ದಿ ದಾಟಿದವ ತಾಳವ ತಟ್ಟಿದವ ಸುರರೊಳು ಸೇರಿದವ ಗೆಜ್ಜೆಯ ಕಟ್ಟಿದವ ಕಳರೆದೆಯ ಮೆಟ್ಟಿದವ ಗಾಯನ ಪಾಡಿದವ ಹರಿಮೂರ್ತಿ ನೋಡಿದವ ಸುರರೊಳು ಸೇರಿದವ ವಿಠಲನ ನೋಡಿದವ ವೈಕುಂಠಕ್ಕೆ ಓಡಿದವ. This is a beautiful Ugaphoga or poem, a freestyle poem that talks about maybe Narada or Haridasas in general. What it tries to convey is that one who strums the tamburi, he crosses the ocean of samsara, who crosses the ocean of sadness. One who plays the tala or cymbals or natuangam, he is the one among all the gods. He raises to the level of the gods. One who wears gejje or ghunguru or anklet bells, he can stamp the heart of the evil-minded people. He can stamp evilness out of this world just by the sound of his anklets. And one who sings, he looks at Lord Purandara Vithala and he goes and unifies with him in Vaikuntha. So this is in essence what we can call as the theme of Dasa Sahitya. This is a very vast subject and I could go on doing series on this because how do I tell it? Like Purandara Dasa himself has composed 4 lakh odd compositions. 4 lakh odd compositions, out of which many have been lost, and what we have with us today ranges to 1 lakh odd compositions, out of which we have more than 40,000 to 80,000 compositions circulating in the bhajan and concert circuit. So that is the length and breadth of the numbers that we're talking about one Haridasa. So this is just one Haridasa, and we have so many Haridasas in Dasa Sahitya literature, and we're talking about using these compositions for dance. So that is a very, very big subject. So this video is introducing Haridasa Sahitya for dummies. So I would want to call it that. So it is about looking at, to have a bird's eye view on Haridasa Sahitya with dance as the lens, through the lens of dance. So how do we use Haridasa Sahitya for the purpose of dance? So that is going to be the focus of what I'm going to talk about. So first of all, let me start explaining what is Dasa Sahitya. Okay, so Dasoham or Dasa means servitude. Servitude is not the right translation for Dasa, because it goes on to implicate an idea of slavery, and though it is also about slavery, it is about lending yourself into slavery or lending yourself into servitude because you know that the supreme power is the one that is going to guide you. So this is the essence of what Dasa means. So this Dasa Sahitya was the emergence of the Madhva, is emerged out of the Madhva cult. So Madhvacharya, you all know, he's one of the three main acharyas of the Hindu philosophies. So his philosophy was that of Dvaita or duality, as opposed to Shankaracharya's Advaita, which was non-duality. So in this duality discourse, so what came down of his parampara is called as Madhva parampara, or Madhva, or the Dvaita parampara, the parampara of duality. Now Advaita believed in Soham, I am that is me, Soham. But Dvaita believed in Dasoham. So there is a superior power and everything else is going to be inferior to that, and we have to tend to merge with the superior, understanding that the Atma is always below Paramatma. So that is the concept of Dvaita in a very, very, very vague sense. It's a very big topic of discussion, and but yeah, this is a very, like I said, a bird's view of what Dvaita philosophy is. So now when this Madhva cult began, and it was taking power in the reigns of Hampi during the Vijayanagar dynasty, so there was a need to take this philosophy out into the world and to spread the greatness of Madhva ideology. So there were definitely people involved, speakers involved, artists involved, who wanted to take this philosophy out into the public, and with the necessity of this need to take it to the public, to take it out of books, to take it out of scholars, to put it into the public domain, that Dasa Sahitya was born. So the pioneer of Dasa Sahitya was Vyasaraya. Vyasaraya was one of the very important saints of Madhva cult. Under his vision, there were two sections born, which were meant to take Dvaita or duality, the philosophy doctrines of that, and Bhakti to public. Because when you talk about the concepts of philosophy and doctrine, they can be extremely difficult, and when things get extremely difficult, you need to simplify them, and the simplest way to approach anything that is divine or anything that comes under the umbrella of being divine is Bhakti. So Bhakti is the simplest way to understand any complicated philosophy. So Vyasaraya just used that, and he brought in two sections to propagate the Madhva philosophy. So the one section was called Vyasakota, the other one was called Dasakota. Now in Vyasakota, there were yatis or sannyasis, saints, who sat and discussed great literature work, gave commentaries on Bhagavad Gita, wrote commentaries on Bhagavata, wrote commentaries on Upanishads, Vedas in Sanskrit, and through that they try to analyze what is the duality, the doctrines of duality in all this. The other section was called Dasakuta. These Dasakutas were not necessarily saints. They were men with family. They were in the society like common people, but they got Diksha from Vyasaraya, and with that they wore anklet belts, they held a thambura in their hand, and they went on the streets doing unchavritti or singing and begging for alms, and that is the way they lived. And in the process of going to household, they sang the praise of Krishna and his leelas, and they spread the Madhva philosophy to the world. So this is how Dasakuta was born. The only one Haridasa who would belong to both, only one, would be Vadiraja. So Vadiraja Swami was a Yati. He was the Yati of the Sondamat, but he was also a Haridasa because he also did Unchavritti and he also composed Kannada poetry or Kannada songs in the form of Dasa Kirtanas, and also wrote commentaries in Sanskrit, etc., etc., etc. Now this Dasakuta was a very secular, surprisingly, even though it was born out of a very rich cult like Madhva cult, it was also a very secular cult, because people from other regions and other societal statuses like Kanakadasa, who was not from a Brahmin origin, he was also one of the greatest dasas of Haridasa literature. So he also gained that status. So this Haridasa cult was a very secular cult, a cult that was more Sufi in its approach, which tried to break away from the shackles of religion and only held on to bhakti as its main source. Now, having said too much about the history of Dasa Sahitya, let me go on to talk about there were also women. There were also women Haridasas. Many, some that immediately come to my mind would be Halvanakate Giriyamma and so many other women writers also you had in Dasakota. Dasakota was a truly secular cult for that time and period, if you would want to call it that way. Now, with reference to dance, so when Radhika asked me to make this video, she wanted me to explain about why people should take Dasa Sahitya for dance and what are the possibilities that come with Dasa Sahitya and dance. So why is actually a question that I shouldn't be answering. Why is a question that every dancer needs to answer? Because any composition, it may be that of Dasa or the Tanjore Quartet or of Trinity or of any modern composer, the need to dance these compositions should come from within the dancer, and it does not lie in the compositions as such. These compositions just aid the vision of the dancer and what the dancer wants to tell. So even Haridasa Sahitya can just do that. It can aid what the dancer wants to do, but it can aid beautifully. And Haridasa Sahitya has lot of possibilities to lend itself into dance. In the historical aspect of Dasa Sahitya also, we know that one of the pioneer Haridasas, one of the most popular Haridasas, Dasa Rendare Purandara. What is Dasa? Dasa is Purandara Dasa. That is what his Guru Vyasaraya told. So that kind of Dasa, Purandara Dasa, is known as the Sangeeta, Karnataka Sangeeta Pitamaha. He is the father or the father figure to Carnatic music. So through him, the music teaching technique, the Sarale Verse, the Janti Verse, the exercises of music, the Alankaras, the Saptasudadi Talas, and then the Geetams, and this process of learning, the methodology of teaching Carnatic music is till date followed as guided by Purandara Dasa. So our dance, Bharatanatyam, which is the main dance or any classical form for that matter that we are talking about today, have their roots in classical music. So dance and music do not go separate. They are always married to each other. So dance also owes a lot. Dance also owes a lot of its existence to Purandara Dasa, because his formulation process is what is also the origin from this pool of compositions from where dancers take their compositions. So that is one thing. And Haridasas like I said, were very secular. So there is a lot of documentation in songs and stories and in folklore that stories have come down from word of mouth and in the mathas, in the inscriptions that we see, that dasas taught music openly to people who wanted to learn music. And when I said to people, it meant people from all caste, gender, sans all these bifurcations, they were all included under their wing. And there are a lot of stories where we know that Haridasas have taught music to temple dancers of that time, and they collaborated with them. And it is very clearly visible in the compositions also, because many of these compositions use dance syllables. There are shollukatters, tatadinginatom, dragadatom, takadimi, takachonu, all these come in the composition. So very clearly indicated that dance was a part of these compositions. And there are stories of Haridasas teaching dance to temple dancers, and hence we see lot of Shringara Sahitya. So even though this Haridasa cult was meant for bhakti, we see all of these, some of these saints like even Vajiraja, who was a yati, writing Shringara Padams in Kannada. Yele sakhiye pogu Vithalana balige begavana tare yenna balige. O Sakhi, go to Vithala, bring him quickly to me, I cannot stand without him. Tandu tore mandaradhara mukunda muraharana. Bring him and show me this Murahara. I am dying to see him. Or Saddu madali bedavo Rangaiya, Saddu madali bedavo. Don't make any noise, O Ranga. People in my house are still sleeping, so they do not want to know that you have secretly come to meet me in my bedroom. So, very erotic Shringara Sahitya are also part of the Dasa Sahitya, the pool of Dasa Sahitya. Veni Madhavana Tori se Jane Triveni Madhavana Tanade Nilalarene. Veni Madhavana Tori se. Oh beautiful haired damsel, please show me Madhava. I cannot stand in one place without having seen Madhava. I am trembling to see him. Please show me Madhava. So many compositions like this. So that is one thing I wanted to share. So there is a connection between these compositions and dance, and many compositions were made for dance, and of course there are compositions that are easily danceable and adaptable to dance. So that is one thing I want to make clear before I proceed. Now, what all maketh this colossus of Dasa Sahitya? What are all the themes that come under Dasa Sahitya? Now, this is a big subject. Like I said, I could make series of this because the answer is everything. There is nothing that Dasa Sahitya does not touch upon that affects us in our daily lives. I just was writing down the themes that I can immediately think of when I talk about Dasa Sahitya, the Sahityas that I know, I sing in my concerts regularly, and these are the broad themes that I could think about. There is fight, there is compositions about fighting, about either two gods fighting, two humans fighting, two sections of society fighting, or a devotee fighting with his lord. There is element of fight, argument. There is argument about philosophies, argument about love, argument about simple, silly things. There is laughter and lot of comedy. There is satire, ironical literature that brings about satire in a very, very beautiful way to teach us so many things. There is tragedy, there is a lot of sadness, karuna, dukkha. There is bhakti, definitely, in all the compositions. There is viraha. There is self-actualization and realization, and the journey and the struggle towards it, and the process of realization also. There is spirituality as against to religion. There is religion also, religious practices and certain processes. It is clearly mentioned in the compositions. The essence of Bhagavad Gita. Lot of compositions talk about what Bhagavad Gita has to say. Then there is the Bhagavata lore, the stories from the Bhagavata, the stories from Krishna Leela and his life. These kritis are in abundance. The entire Bhagavata can be probably brought through out of these compositions. So some compositions have the entire Bhagavata in them. Then there is Shringara. I said Viraha and Shringara, but yeah, two facets, different facets. There are both. There is Swarupa Stuti of Krishna, just the Swarupa Stuti, and then there is the Nirguna Stuti also, the concept of Krishna as beyond being the idol and the entity that we can see. Then there is society reforms. There are concepts about cleanliness, about what is dirt, what is gossip, what is bullying. There are compositions about all of this, about women empowerment. There is compositions about socialistic approach towards society. There is questioning of untouchability, questioning of caste system, condemning their own section, their own sect. So that is also a very surprisingly a part of these compositions. Then there are compositions on music, on what is good music, what should be good music, what can be the aspects of music. There are compositions meant to talk about that also. Then we have compositions about self-critical analysis, about ego, about mistakes that we make, about the journeys that we have taken, talking about that in general. Then there are compositions meant for children, very playful, simple compositions that are written in a child's language. There are compositions meant to be sung in folk tunes and having a folkish language accent in the writing also. Very, very folkish tunes. There are compositions on animals. There are compositions about nature. There are compositions about, you can cover Navavidha Bhakti, Navarasas, and the Shodasha Upacharas, and all these things. So there are compositions for each and everything in this colossus that is called Haridasa Sahitya. Now, what are the forms? So the first basic form of Haridasa Sahitya that we are introduced to is, of course, Pillari Geetams. We have all learnt Pillari Geetams, Lambodara Lakumikar and all of that, which begin the musical journey of every musician and dancer when they are introduced to the concept of music or Indian Carnatic music. Then comes the Suladis. Suladis are the compositions that were Tala Malikas, that had all the Sapta Talas that we learn in the Alankaras, the Atta, Mattha, Dhruva, Atha, Mattya, Dhruva, Eka, Rupaka, Triputa, all these Talas. So all these talas are woven as a garland of Tala Malika, and there is Sahitya, and there is a particular way to sing it, and there are also references in documentations about how these should be danced also. So there was a process. So there was, I think, if you think about it critically and with using a little bit of your imagination, you can obviously understand these compositions were probably also tailored around dancing, because one could show Abhinaya, one could show Tala Dhyana, change of talas. It almost looks like a main piece or like a Padavarnam that we talk about. So it is a magnus opus composition. Suladis are also part of Dasa Sahitya. Then we have Kirtanas, the regular Dasa Kirtanas. Then we have Nama Sankirtanas, where you just do bhajan style of all his namas. So there are a lot of these compositions too. Then there are Uga Bhogas, which are the meatiest compositions. They are verses like poetry. It almost looks like a main piece or like a Padavarnam that we talk about. So it is a magnus opus composition. Suladis are also part of Dasa Sahitya. Then we have Kirtanas, the regular Dasa Kirtanas. Then we have Nama Sankirtanas, where you just do bhajan style of all his namas. So there are a lot of these compositions too. Then there are Uga Bhogas, which are the meatiest compositions. They are verses like poetry, but not particularly set to rhythm. They are just lines, short phrases, and each Uga Bhoga can be sung like a Viruttam, what we know in Carnatic music today, or Shlokas in Raga, in freestyle. And these Uga Bhogas itself cover a wide variety of beautiful concepts, from Nindastuti to what is a festival, what is the meaning of father, mother, society, what is the meaning of relationships, what is love, what is God, what is bhakti. Amazing. The type of topics these can cover is amazing. Now coming to the core of the element about Dasa Sahitya, I think when incorporating Dasa Sahitya to dance, what becomes pivotal is the idea of the dancer and her research or their research, and what they want to tell through these compositions, and ultimately how that is complemented in the way that these compositions are composed. There are n number of Dasa compositions which are very popular already and have come from generations in a certain way. When I say Jagadodharana, you know it is Jagadodharana Adisidale Shore Jagadodharana Krishna ni begane baro Krishnaya nina bhaktara manegiga Krishnaya baro Krishnaya. Like this, the compositions can go on and go on and go on. There are so many compositions that are very popular already in dance and have been danced to innumerable number of times. Actually, they are part of every performance nevertheless. So now how you compose to dance makes a lot of difference. Now the popular tunes that already exist in Dasa Sahitya, they have both pros and cons to them. The pros are that people already know these tunes and identify with these tunes very easily, and hence there is an immediate connect with the composition that you're going to do. When you're doing it to an audience that does not necessarily involve themselves much with dance, so this can be a positive aspect. But the con side to it is that since it is already so popular, the focus is more towards music and the lyricality of the composition, and humming along the composition, enjoying the composition itself, and not focusing on what the dancer wants to say out of this. It's very difficult to break open that shell of just shaking your head to Jagadodharana and really watching if the dancer has something different to say, unless the dancer is exceptionally good. So there are pros and cons both to this aspect. Sometimes the idea of composition becomes very important, because these compositions, when tailor-made for dance, need to be broken, need to be analyzed, and need to be understood from a dance perspective. So it is sometimes good to shake the audience from their regular slumber and offer them something different. This thought process was ignited in me very long ago when I saw my sister learning from Muralidhar Rao, Mysore, like when I was a young boy. So I've heard him tell that Jagadodharana is a great composition, and he has taught it to many of his students. Even in Mangalore, his senior disciple Sharada Mani Shekhar is known to perform that itself for like 1 hour and all that. So this composition of Jagadodharana or Krishnani Begane Baro, he used to always tell, I have heard once even when I met him, he said that you should change the tune. Don't do it in the regular kapi. do it in something different, so that the audience look at the choreography and abhinaya and not focus on the music. So that can actually shake up the audience, I think, and bring about a lot of difference. So just giving you a glimpse, I can't probably sing the whole tune. So considering Jagadodharana is a lullaby, Jagadodharana ಆಟಿಸಿದಳೆ ಶೋಧ ಜಗದೋದ್ಧಾರನ ಆಡಿಸಿದಳೆ ಶೋಧ ಜಗದೋದ್ಧಾರನ ಮಗನೆಂದು ತಿಳಿಯೂತ ಜಗದೋದ್ಧಾರನ ಮಗನೆಂದು ತಿಳಿಯೂತ ಮಗುಗಳ ಮಾಣಿಕ್ಯನ ಆಡಿಸಿದಳೆ ಶೋಧ ಜಗತ್. Like this. So if you break from the regular, so maybe your process of ideation can be different, and maybe you look at the composition from a different perspective, and there are a lot of layers that can come alive through this composition now. Similarly, Krishnani Begane Baro, many dancers have already done it, and even when I was doing directing this in one of the productions, when I was conceptualizing a certain production, so I had thought of Krishnani Begane Baro in 3 voices, one that of Radha, one in that of Vyasaraya and Yashoda, so or Meera, Vyasaraya and Yashoda in 3. It can be conveyed just through the performance, but if you break the monotony of the raga and take the audience and show them this composition can be different from Krishna Begane, which is iconic, it's beautiful, I'm not questioning that, but let us take the audience away from the music concert scene and tell them to focus on the dance aspect, the sahitya and the abhinaya of this composition. So how can that be done? So say you open with a mother and then go on to a sakhi and then go on to gopis and then go on to Vyasaraya. So how the moods can traverse in music when you are thinking about it with a perspective of dance. Krishna ni begane baro, Krishna ni begane baro, begane baro, mukhavanne toro, begane baro, mukhavanne toro, Krishna ni begane baro. If that is one mood of the composition, going ahead. Kalaldu geje ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಳಲು ಕಾಲಂದುಗೆ ಗೆಜ್ಜೆ, ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಳಲು ನೀಲವರ್ಣನೆ ನಾಟ್ಯವನಾಡೂತ ಬಾರೋ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ನೀ ಬೇಗನೆ ಬಾರೋ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ನೀ ಬೇಗನೆ ಬಾರೋ. Another mood to this composition. ಉಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಉಡುಗೆಜೆ, ಕೊರಳಲ್ಲಿ ಉಂಗೂರ, ಉಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಉಡಿಗೆಜೆ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ನೀ ಬೇಗನೆ ಬಾರೋ. That Koralali Ungura, sorry. Whatever. So this is the another mood of the composition. Another twist. Kasi pitambara kaiyalli kolelu, ಪೂಸಿದ ಶ್ರೀಗಂಧ ಮೈಯೊಳಗ ಮಘಮ, ಕೃಷ್ಣ ನೀ ಬೇಗನೆ ಬಾರೋ. Then you go back to ತಾಯಿಗೆ ಬಾಯಲ್ಲಿ ಜಗವನ್ನೇ ತೋರಿದ ಜಗದೋ ಧಾರಕ ನಮ್ಮ ಉಡುಪಿಯ ಶ್ರೀ ಕೃಷ್ಣ, ಕೃಷ್ಣ ನೀ ಬೇಗನೆ ಬಾರೋ. So this is one way of looking at it. Now say a different composition, so how it could be molded for dance. So you know this ಹರಿಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡೋ ನಿರಂತರ, ಪರಗತಿಗೆ ಇದು ನಿರ್ಧಾರ, ಹರಿಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡೋ ನಿರಂತರ. Okay. He talks about constantly sing the praise of Hari, and he is going to lead you, and what you're going to do after your iha or now, when you go enter the para, when you enter the unknown post death. So what is going to happen to you, that is going to be decided by how you chant Harinama right now. So it is like a very spiritual awakening kind of composition. So if you want to break that and bring that element to it, ಹರಿಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡೋ ನಿರಂತರ, ಹರಿಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡೋ ನಿರಂತರ, ಹರಿಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡೋ, ಹರಿಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡೋ, ಹರಿಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡೋ ನಿರಂತರ, ಹರಿಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡೋ ನಿರಂತರ, ಹರಿಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡೋ ನಾರಾಯಣ ಹರಿನಾರಾಯಣ 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 ಹರಿನಾರಾಯಣ, ಹರಿಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡೋ ನಿರಂತರ, ಪರಗತಿಗೆ 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 ಇದು ನಿರ್ಧಾರ ಪರಗತಿಗೆ ಇದು ನಿರ್ಧಾರ ಹರಿಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡೋ ನಿರಂತರ. Keeping the dance element into it, and how you can stress about nirantara, mado nirantara, telling ದುರಿತ ಗಜಕ್ಕೆ ಕಂಠೀರವನೆನಿಸಿದ. So for an elephant that was in distress, you came as a kanthirava, you came as this great energetic king, you came as this power, as a kanthirava. You are the person who protects people who come and surrender to you. Sharanagata Rakshaka. You are pure, Pavana. Durita Gajake Kalthiravanenizida. Durita Gajake Kalthiravanenizida. Sharanagata ಶರಣಾಗತ ರಕ್ಷಕ ಪಾವನನಿ ಹರಿಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡೋ ನಿರಂತರ. ತರುಣಿ ದ್ರೌಪದಿಯು ಮೊರೆಯಿಡಲು, ತರುಣಿ ದ್ರೌಪದಿಯು, the damsel Draupadi, she is crying for your help, and immediately, akshana, that moment, you gave Bharadinda Akshaya Vastra. You gave Akshaya Vastra in abundance. That Mahatma you are. Taruni Draupadiyu moreyidalu. Taruni Draupadiyu. Sorry. Taruni Draupadiyu moreyidalu. Akshana Bharadinda ಅಕ್ಷಯ ವಸ್ತ್ರವನಿತ್ತೆ. ಭರದಿಲ್ದ ಅಕ್ಷಯ ವಸ್ತ್ರವನಿತ್ತೆ. ಮಹಾತ್ಮ ಭರದಿಲ್ದ ಅಕ್ಷಯ ವಸ್ತ್ರವನಿತ್ತೆ. ಮಹಾತ್ಮ ಭರದಿಲ್ದ ಅಕ್ಷಯ ವಸ್ತ್ರವನಿತ್ತೆ. ಮಹಾತ್ಮ ಮಹಾತ್ಮ ಮಹಾತ್ಮನ ಹರಿಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡೋ ನಿರಂತರ. So this is one way of changing or breaking the regular tune to probably incorporate to match your abhinaya or to bring that rhythmic value to the composition, so it becomes more in aligned with the dance, rather than just making it like a piece which can be enjoyed through music and the audience taking their attention away from dance and just looking at music. So how to bring out the essence of the meaning of the composition through dance by enhancing to suit your dance. So the compositional structure is very important. The compositional structure of this becomes very, very, very important at this point of time. Now, I'm already exceeding in time, and like I said, I can go on talking about this. That the main aspect of Dasahitya and dance ultimately comes with what the dancer does with the composition. So if it is a simple Harinama Stotra or Swarupa Stotra, how to break it away from the simpleness and making it something big. And if there are very complicated structures in Abhinaya, complicated structures in the Sahitya, now how to incorporate that into Abhinaya, that also can be a very big challenge. How you can use this language as a metaphor and how you can bring out the layers of the composition also makes a difference. Now if you take a very philosophical composition like Anubhavada Adugeya Madi, this composition is very popular for people who don't know. It talks about let's cook our mutual experiences and make a broth of bhakti. So now that is a very complicated line to show. So how you can simplify that process? ಅನುಭವದಡುಗೆಯ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದಕ್ಕನುಭವಿಗಳು ಬಂದು ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಕೂಡಿ ಅನುಭವದಡುಗೆಯ ಮಾಡಿ ಅನುಭವದಡುಗೆಯ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದಕ್ಕನುಭವಿಗಳು ಬಂದು ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಕೂಡಿ ಅನುಭವದಡುಗೆಯ ಮಾಡಿ. ಅನುಭವದಡುಗೆಯ ಮಾಡಿ ಅದಕ್ಕನುಭವಿಗಳು ಬಂದು ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಕೂಡಿ 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 ಅನುಭವದಡುಗೆಯ ಮಾಡಿ. So it can be metaphorized in innumerable ways. So it is left to the choreography, the dancer and his visualization power of how it can be expressed metaphorically without going into the literal meaning of the composition. So I would like to conclude this bird's eye view of what Haridasa Sahitya and dance can do by saying that yes, Haridasa Sahitya has ample scope, has ample material, has ample depth for dancers to explore. Haridasa Sahitya is an ocean that has topics related to everything in life you need, and so a dancer wants to say something, they can always find resonance in some composition or the other in the Haridasa Sahitya literature. What is required is lot of reading, literature, conversation with scholars who have understood these compositions, breaking away the literal meaning of the composition and entering the depth of what the lyrics has to say in a more metaphorical view. I have not touched upon this subject in detail because that will lead dissection of each composition in a very big manner, and should probably do it some other time. For this time, I would like to say that this bird's eye view might have helped you to know that there is a lot of material. There is a lot of material for you to explore, to understand and to delve into. And I hope many of these dancers, many of you dancers will pick up compositions from Haridasa, Dasa Sahitya and incorporate in your dance. I would love to see them being performed in new ways, in imaginative ways, in creative ways. I know it has been a bird's view and not an in-depth analysis on one aspect or the other. It is just like a colossus. It's like an abstract photograph from each aspect of this vast subject of Dasa Sahitya. But this is what I could think of and do in this short limited time. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity and letting me engage with Dasa Sahitya and giving an essence of it, a tiny essence of it, to the students of dance. Thank you so much.